Okay, trying to show my process here. Here's my adapter, and I just pulled the end off, but because I used this before, so I'm going to check it first. So I get 19.2, 19.3. So I'm going to hit the whole button on that. So I know we want to test it first. That's what our first process is. So I'm going to turn off my meter from there, and so we know that the voltage is good on this. And we're going to simulate saying something happened. This happens a lot. The dog ate the part or whatever it may be. And here's my, so we don't unplug my adapter from it. Here's my soldering station. I'm going to heat this up in a minute. And I may have to do this in two pieces, this video, part one, part two kind of deal, as I heat it up. So I'm just going to plug this in. This is my station that I have here. I'm only going to use the water part of it, so I'm just going to kind of like move it over there so you can see a little bit. And so, yeah, drink the water. And at the same time, I'm going to put a little bit of water on this pad here, because that's the way you make sure that you can keep the soldering iron clean for a nice hold. I've got a helping hand, which is going to help me hold all the parts together. So this is my helping hand here. And so it's going to do a little bit for me too. So I'm going to turn this on. I've got two pieces to mine. It's got a hot part too for removing parts that are just for the process of, so I'm going to get mine up a little bit higher here. I want mine up to about, I'm going to say about 250. It gets me a really good hot part. I've got it drilled up a little bit, around 300, but so yeah, so the hot part is if I'm lifting a part and I want to touch the solder, or I'm going to put heat shrink on. Here's my heat shrink tube. We're going to supply that for everybody. So I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to simulate some stuff. So for heat shrink today, I'm going to simulate. Okay, there's the heat shrink. Just going to put it out of the way for a sec. I'm going to simulate me cutting this where it gets stuck in a drawer. Boom! Look at that. Bang! Okay, so now we got these two pieces. So what we got to do with this, we got to find a way to strip back these pieces. And I am trying to film this the best I can. So I don't have fancy lights or nothing. And what we want to do is, we had wire strippers or something that would even be better. What we're going to pull off the sheeting on the outside. Now, when you go to do your adapter, you might have two pieces. You might have one. There might be three lines. Sometimes there's a charging line and an operation line. This adapter only has the two inside, so it does make it a little bit easier. So that's something to be thoughtful about when you're repairing these. So yeah, we got a ground side of it like this, and so that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to try and get that back nice and neat. And of course on the inside here, now I had these for a long time. They got a little chip in it I put in there, so they are kind of my idea of a wire stripper. Of course we do have wire strippers at the college there, and we will have them out. So they've got one side of my helpy hand here, and then I'm going to do the other side off. So I'm going to do that on the other side here. Let's just do this so we don't try and wreck the whole thing. There we go. So we got our two sheaths off. The sheath on the outside for the poly. And yeah, we're just trying to get all the ground wires off to the one side so they don't short out when we solder this all together. I'm going to try and do this all in a nice smooth motion. Alright. So, this whole process here, almost got it. And I'll do this one other side. Now we have to be thoughtful. I got to use a little bit of heat shrink on this too. So on the inside and the outside. Okay, there we go. I got my other side. Okay, so I got my two helpy hands here. Hopeful hands. Soldering iron's heating up for us pretty good. Okay, so we're all done with the wire strippers on this side. And so now we have to kind of pick out some heat shrink stuff that'll work for us. And so we got to be thoughtful. We need a piece afterwards that's going to go over top. So I don't know if I can make this kind of go over top of all, but we're going to try. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to see if this one will work. This seems about the right size for this if I can pull it off. So we do got to put one down the outside. It's going to cover all of our heat shrink afterwards. So I'm going to attempt to use that piece. We'll see if it works or not. And then we need something that's going to be about the right size for the inside here. So I'm going to take this blue one. I don't need that much of the blue, so I'm going to cut off a chunk of it. So be thoughtful when you do yours. And so I'm going to take about that much off of it. Okay, so I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm saying if we had more than one, it'd be different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this, put this end on like that. So that's pretty close. That's, I might even be able to have done on the other side. No, that's one reason why we strip it back as far as we can. Because when I kind of get this on here and I do cross this layer, I'm actually going to take off a little bit more of that. Just a little bit. Okay. The idea is we don't want them to short out afterwards. So I'm going to put this back in here. Okay, so we got these two pieces. We're going to attempt to solder those together. What we do need to do is we need to tin them first. Okay, we're still on the record here. Alright. I think we kind of can see what we're doing here. Let's see. Okay, still doing the best we can. Okay, so we want to get this tinned off a little bit. I think I do need to turn this up a little bit more. And see if we can get this just about what we want. So the idea is that we apply solder to each end so that when we do go to put them together, they stick efficiently. And so if we do it from the top like this, we should be able to, the solder should like go right into it if we get it at the right temperature. And we don't quite get the temperature up high enough. It's got to be a little bit higher here. Because it should sink right into the core of all of the stuff, so maybe a little higher here. Yeah, maybe about 350, 400. Now the ones that you're going to use at the college, they do not have a temperature gauge on them. I don't believe they're just like on or off, but they do work, and they work efficiently. So I'm just going to like, and that's what the part of this is for over here. This whole process of using the sponge, which I think is just in this one. And it has to be wet, so it just helps clean it off a little bit. So we're going to apply some more here again. Yeah, that's better. It's getting a little hotter now. Always pays to have your equipment as hot as possible. It definitely could use to be a little hotter than that. Plus, if you have a resin core, now this one here I don't believe is a resin core. It's probably why I'm having a little trouble with it too. So now I'm going to attempt to have these solder right together. Of course, this is not ideal. It didn't work out the best that I could have imagined on the fly. It's so nice to do this live demo, but of course we don't have an opportunity in our A+ lab to do that, and it's pretty hard to do it with COVID in front of everybody. So as we say, we're doing our best. So I'm going to get these two to join together. Okay, not too bad. Let that cool down for just a second here. Alright. So I'm going to, hopefully that heat shrink didn't, no it didn't. So we're going to slide that ahead. You can see it tried to already, from the heat, kind of like collapse. And that's what the heat shrink tube's supposed to do. It's supposed to collapse onto the, sometimes you might have to clip it a little bit because at one side. So, you know, even using your little razor edge is good too. And so we're going to try and get this over top of here. Like I said, if you get, you have to really have the solder base that is with the resin, or have the resin on hand, Because once you have resin on the wires, everything goes a lot better. So, okay, you can see now, I got the heat shrink over top of that one section. For this part here, I'm going to use this. We do have a bunch of different stuff at the shop that's good too, but I'm going to heat shrink that in place. I mean, if we had a lighter, could do it. That's another way to do it, but for the most part, I'm going to wait till this gets a little hotter. It's starting to now. There we go. The heat shrink is shrunk. It is off, on. Okay, so we get that one part done. It'll go around for a little bit until it's cooled down. And because this one's our ground wire, we don't have to worry so much. Now, you could put heat shrink on the outside of this, the second one here. Even the helping hand doesn't really need to be in that place. But once again, I don't think this is like a solid core wire. And if it was one with the resin core, it would really sink into it a whole lot better. Okay, so clean off our soldering iron again. We're going to put resin into this side here. Now, a lot of people this first time, they'll have trouble because it's not something they've done before. It's new to them process. And it really is just making sure you get that all soaked into it all the way through. And this is to simulate, you know, somebody cut off their power adapter in their door, their dog chewed on it, which is like a lot of times I get that, oh, the dog chewed my adapter. It's actually $100-something adapter to replace. Oh, okay, I'll fix it up for you. That'll cost you X amount of dollars. Alright, so we got both of those sides done. I just want it to cool a little bit more. Try and get those. And so we're going to attempt to get this big chunk of heat shrink. Now you can see you can stagger it. If you were really smart, you could say, okay, I'm going to put the joint over here and the joint over there. And then they're both not in the same place. And then you don't use such a big piece of heat shrink. Okay, let's see if we can get this over that whole process. That was quite a bit of a bump, and you can see that I am going to have a little bit of a challenge on that, especially since I put so much solder on there. You could make that a little thinner, but you can see I got it going over. I've done this a few times in my life, and so we're going to end up with pretty close. I mean, I could have done that a little nicer. That isn't the nicest job I could have done. I could have done a little better, but it is pretty close. So now I'm going to put back on this side. And at the end, we'll just test this adapter and make sure it's working properly. It did its thing. And this is about a 15-minute demo, so it's pretty good. And we're just going to heat shrink that all on there. Oh, that's not bad. And there we go. We have an adapter that has been repaired on Ben TV. Not MTV, but Ben TV. And, yeah. Okay, so let's see how this worked out. Thank you, Helpy Hand. You were magnificent again and helping us do our thing. So let's put this back in. I have to kind of unplug. I've only got so many plugs in my room. My whole idea was to do a little better of this job, but that's what we're doing. So we got to do. We're just going to test the product at the end. Make sure we're online. Okay. If you're lucky, your adapter will have a light on it. Kind of also know, oh, it's working. And that's why you kind of test it before and after, you know, oh, was it really actually working? Was it barely working? And is it sort of working? Okay, so let's put these two adapters together here. We've got all our crimper tools and everything all wired together. It's all wound around. Okay, so back again. You know, if we were on the outside, inside, the inside should be positive. We're going to put my handy dandy adapter back on to where it should be and test it. Look at that, 18.32. Well, right where it was before. Right where it was before. I think you can sort of see that on the adapter. Okay, so that's it. That was our first demo. Like I said, I could have done a little better. I didn't measure it out enough. You can see there's a little bit of bare wire, and over time that will crack and bend. So, you know, if I was smart, I would have done bigger. I could have probably done, you know, if I redid it and I would have seen it and like, okay, I could have done it at the time. You could put tape around the rest of it too, but eventually tape kind of comes out unglued and comes off. Hockey tape's not bad though. And that's my demo. Okay, we're going to upload this for the rest of everybody.